We're so back. I just came back from Mexico City. I did not record at all, so this is a week skipped because I just wanted to enjoy, and that was vacation. And, you know, I had a lot of thoughts in terms of inspiration and just engagement with the city and artists and architecture and design and all that stuff. But I just wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to have to pull out my phone each time, and I was like turning off the actively working brain of myself. I just wanted to explore and experience, and came back rejuvenated and just thinking differently, moving differently. Maybe not drastically, but it feels like a different space. I definitely am more relaxed. That's, I think, the most important thing, is I was like so stressed and tired. I don't even remember how I ended the last episode, but I don't remember if I recapped the show because I still have to edit that. I'm going to be posting that on Tuesday instead of Monday. Anyway, a lot of thoughts swarming through my head today. I started the day late. The Super Bowl was yesterday and Bad Bunny performed, and it was beautiful. Such a beautiful homage. And I spent like 3-4 hours on social media this morning. Woke up and didn't get out of bed till like 1 p.m. I think I woke up at like 8 a.m., not 9 a.m. And it just felt so good to use my brain again. I was just doing a lot of critical thinking and reflections and sharing different thoughts about the show, not as it relates to content, but as it relates to like, what do you do next and how are you empowered and how are you as an artist going to work within the systems, like the cool systems that exist, because unfortunately we kind of have to, but how are you also disrupting it? And I think Bad Bunny did and has done, not just in this, but like is really good with his his art, using that as activism. But the examples that I posted was, you know, NFL is brutal, and its big sports events are just modern day gladiator Coliseum things, which were invented for the sake of managing dissent and distracting people. And it's just continuation of that in sports. It's still a good thing. I'm not saying like it's a bad thing to have these like sports experiences. Obviously they're life-changing for so many people, and they make a big difference in communities and cultures, yada yada. Multiple things can be true at once, all right? Nuance, okay? But it does function to do that. And I read a post that highlighted how the halftime shows historically have been a reflection on what's happening in the current modern day in the US and around the world, and used as a way to manage dissent, right? So there's some posts that I've seen where people were like, wow, is the NFL getting more progressive? No, baby. No. And it just led to this like longer forms of thoughts, and like looking at other posts of people that I admire and their thoughts, and reading through their thinkings, and just kind of putting everything together, and basically being like, you know, I think Bad Bunny does such a great job in he worked within the system, right? Like everything got approved of his show. Nothing was a surprise to anybody in the NFL who was in charge in that. But I think what he was able to do within the limitations and bounds of what they set, which we don't know the exact terms, he did such a beautiful job. And I think it was so gorgeous, and it inspired millions of people. And it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do once now you're inspired and motivated and fired up, right? But he also does a great job of working outside of the system. Like, he did not tour in the US for different reasons. He had his residency in Puerto Rico and was like, you guys have to come to me, and he decentered his English by only speaking in Spanish. And I loved all of that. And I think that's such a great job of using art as activism on top of everything else that he's done in the past. And I still am learning more about him in terms of his like role as it relates to activism, and not just like music and art. Because like, frankly, I just only knew him as an artist, and I love his music, but I don't know what he's saying, and I've never really looked anything up. And so anything that I've seen has just been secondhand. But now I've just been kind of diving more into him, and I'm like, yeah, I admire that really, really well. Same for Vic Mensa. I think they're two artists that I can immediately think of front of mind that actually like walk the walk, and not just like use a big thing like Coachella or like, you know, all these different performances and opportunities to just like showcase something and then kind of disappear and not really do much beyond that. So anyway, just thinking a lot about that, and like the role of the artist, and how can you do both, right? Like, how can you do both, and other things in between. There's not just both, but like, how can you work within systems? Because, you know, for me, for example, I don't really care for exhibiting work. Like, I think it's cool. And it's, you know, like a level of prestige and like all that stuff. But you really have to question, like, who is a person labeling what's good enough to be placed in an art gallery, right? Usually white people. So it's like, who are you looking for that affirmation from or validation from? That's something to think about. And like for me, I've always just been for the people. That's something that's always been central for my work. I've always been, when I was doing my photojournalism work and the work that I'm working on and developing now, has been about the people. And it always used to irk me the wrong way, like seeing just white walled galleries. And I loved Faces of Harlem and how they brought, and Photoville, like how they bring photography to the people, like on the streets, in the parks, so you can see it every day as you walk by. Because white wall galleries are not inviting and don't invite everybody, and some people don't feel like they belong there, and they don't have the ability to access it. Like so many things to think about. And even with photojournalism, like my whole how I got into it was all about like I'm not seeing the people that I grew up with and that I'm around being represented, and that has never changed. I'm really like proud that has always been something that I've kept in the forefront of my mind. All this to say, so like, yeah, galleries, like, yeah, sure, like, great. But you got to play that game, because it's like, you get prestige, you get the CV line item, you get the, like, person who could see your work and they can mean something, or they can buy something and changes your life, right? Like, and so it's, you do that, or I do that, so I can get the resource access, so I can get the, like, prestige to get me into more doors, so I can get more resources, and I'm playing the game, so that I can use the funds or whatever comes of it to be able to, do what I actually want to work on, and continue, not what I actually want to work on, it's always been what I've already been doing that, but like to continue that work, and to continue to fund things and like have different opportunities, right? You know, and similarly, like I've always wanted my photography to be accessible, but I live in the most expensive city in the US, if not the world, and I have rent to pay. So it's like, how do I, you know, tax or like make the people who can afford it pay for me to be able to subsidize and or offer for free the things that I need to do. And I've done this again since the very beginning, since college. Like I did the free photo shoots for people of color and Black people, and there was one person who donated a significant amount of money, a white person who donated a lot of money to be able to fund even more for me to be able to do free headshots for people in college. So things like that, right? Like that's why I kept my corporate job, because it allowed for me to do things for free. I did free headshots, I did free things, like offered low cost rates for stuff, because I was like, I don't really need the money because I have a steady paycheck coming in. So now I'm just trying to reorient what that looks for me now, because I also need the money, right? Because I have no steady income check. So it's like, how do I figure that out? And what are the things that I can do? And for me, that means like applying to a shit ton of grants to get other people who can afford it to pay for things, for me to be able to do these things. And I keep teasing this big project that I'm working on, but like when that happens, and I say when because it will this year, and I will fight through hell and fire to make it work. Like it just like exemplifies everything that I believe in, and accessibility and community development and archival, all these things. So I've been so deeply inspired by Bad Bunny, and just like can't wait to just dive more deeper into him and other artists who use their art as activism. I think inherently art inherently is political, but not all art is activism. So I'm excited to dive deeper into people who make that distinction and do that work. So that's something that's been very front of mind for me, and feels even more salient because I just came from Mexico. I think that like being somewhere where I felt so safe and regulated, but in this space that has had massive propaganda, if you live in the US, like against it, and even me walking around, I was like, wow, not that I didn't expect it to be this beautiful, but like you have so much of what you're fed in the US, and no one is immune to propaganda. You can be as like well-versed in anything, but I'm still learning every day from very brilliant people who post their thoughts and their readings and writings, and I'm like, wow, I did not even know that I was I was conditioned in this way. So it was just so great to have that in my front of mind, and I loved how the insistence of speaking Spanish, which like you're probably like, well, duh, it's their country, why would you expect them to speak English? It's not that I expected them to speak English. I have traveled a lot though, and something I've realized, I've traveled, Latin America, South America, Europe, Africa, and what I realized is people, when you speak English, they'll immediately try and speak to English back to you. And sometimes it's for different reasons. Like sometimes like I've had people say, no, I want to speak English too because I want to practice. I'm like, cool. Like my sister is like that. She's like, please speak to me in English. Like I don't want you to learn Italian because I want to be able to speak to you in English and practice. So there's some people who are like that. And then there's some people who like feel the need, I've seen, to be immediately be like, oh my gosh, yes, like let me speak to you and your language. And I've been so uncomfortable by it all the time. I'm like, no, I should be speaking your language. I'm in your country. Like, please do not. Like, it just emphasizes like how deeply ingrained this idea of English monopoly and hegemony is in the world. And so to go to Mexico and to have people, I would just be like, no hablas español, but I had my translator thing on, and like we kind of figured it out, and I was ready to, and there wouldn't even be an attempt at like trying to speak back. And some people like knew English, but I was like, no, please, like, speak to me in Spanish. I'm the one who needs to speak to you in your language, so please do not in any capacity like capitulate to me, please. And I love that was just inherent, and that was like the first thing. Whereas before in other places I've traveled to, like, they'll try to speak to you in English, and I'm like, no, like, no, I should be speaking to you in your language. Please do not like attempt to do so for me. So I really loved that, and I was inspired by that, and just like this, I just love seeing the toppling of it all. So yeah, so a lot of good, happy thoughts, a lot of inspiration. I feel so fired up. This week we do have the show coming up. I do have another show. I'm in a Black History Month group exhibit at Poise Brooklyn. Thank you, Thailand, for letting me show some work. So tomorrow I'm gonna go visit my buddy Chris at Positive Print Lab, who printed out all the stuff for me for the last show, and drop off some film, and then drop off the frame print. And then I want to go check out the Gaza photo exhibition happening, and then just have some reconnections and calls with friends and creative partners throughout the week, and just kind of really doubling down on a lot of my personal goals. Those kind of fell on the wayside in January, and so I'm just rearranging what I would like to get done in February, and making sure that I do well to balance those. And we got to go hard in terms of applying stuff and different opportunities, and I am definitely in the red in terms of, like, if I started, let's say I'm thinking of it as like I started at zero in January, and I'm not factoring in my savings or anything that I've been pulling from, which I have had to pull from already. But we're in the red by like negative 3,000. And that just encompasses like how much I've spent traveling, and the show itself, the last show, was like 1K. So we gotta like, I want to get out of the red by March, and at least be at zero and not in the negatives. So no clue how I'm gonna make that work, but we will make it work somehow. I'm still not feeling really panicky yet. Still got a good chunk of savings to rely on, but at this rate, it'll go away sooner than I thought, what I planned for, which was a year. I think now we can estimate that to like 6 months. So that's just, like a little thought in the mind, but I'm doing a lot of investing in projects and work, like prints and stuff, and I'm just trying to do a bunch of that up front strategically, so that when it becomes warm and it's summertime, I'll be outside selling prints. I've initiated my first step, which was get everything printed through that gallery, and now we're gonna initiate the next few phases of using that to work for me, so that I can make back what I spent on all of that in different ways. So yeah, just trying to be like business minded. I like made a whole sheet on my larger spreadsheet of like all the prints and how many I have, how much I sold them for, how much I bought them for, the net profit, like all that stuff, which I've never done as it relates to my photo business. So just even learning about that stuff, and I'm getting like all these, 1089, tax return stuff from different places I freelanced, and so I still gotta do taxes at some point, which is a scary thought. But thankfully there's a getting tax ready as an artist call later this week. So anyway, that's my 15-minute update. And hopefully we'll be back to regularly scheduled programming of posting these. I've had confirmation from 3 people that they regularly watch these, so shout out to you 3. You know who you are. You guys are a real one. Big heart. But yeah, I just can't wait to look back on these and just like see the growths and the thought process forming and the lines connecting, and at the end of the year be like, oh my gosh, in a good way, inshallah. Anyway, let me get back to it. But it was great catching up, and here's to a new month. Keeping this one short and sweet because it is already the next day. So we're gonna say this was for Wednesday. I don't remember what I did today, but I got everything done on my to-do list, so that was yay. And I got to see Wicked, so I got to see Lencia Cabrera perform, the first full-time Black performer to play the witch. Okay, I have no knowledge of Wicked or the Wizard of Oz. Like, my roommate had to explain it all to me, alright? How I've managed to survive 27 years and not, I don't know, okay? All I know is the red shoes, Kansas, somewhere over the rainbow, and a golden gate, and a scarecrow, and whatever, right? And I know nothing about Wicked besides, okay, anyway. She's the first full-time Black Elfie, whatever. Alphaba. See, I paid attention. And she's Ethiopian. Shout out Queen, you were amazing, you were spectacular. I love seeing us represented, and I'm proud of you. But that was a highlight, and just a great end to a great day. Yesterday, what did I do? Oh, yesterday I picked up, did I do a video for, yes, I don't think I did. Yesterday I picked up the print from Chris, because I have a show on Thursday. I feel like I've already talked about this. And then went to the gym, and then dropped off the print in the frame for where the show is going to be at Poise Record Store in Brooklyn. It's I think he was saying 1 year and 3 month old business. So go out and support. They're also right a block away from Glass Bookstore, which is also a relatively new bookstore, Black-owned bookstore, Black queer-owned bookstore. So that was fun to drop that off. But excuse me. Yeah, that's really it. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about several things, but I don't really feel like talking about it right now because I want to go to bed. Actually, I want to read a little bit and I want to go to bed, despite the fact that it's midnight. Oh, I had some calls today. That was fun. Caught up with a friend. Caught up with an old coworker. Meal prepped some food. Yeah, shout out past me for putting things in the freezer and having that freezer stocked and that pantry stocked. I have not had to go grocery shopping yet. And I kind of have everything that I need for the next few days. And my mom for making those pasta sauce and Ethiopian food that I have frozen. So I'm eating that pasta sauce this week on top of my other meal that I made. So yeah, tomorrow, hopefully get through my to-do lists again. 2 for 2 to-do lists. Success will be great. And yeah, that's all I really have. Not much of an update. So we'll check it tomorrow. Alright, I'm filming this on Monday. I'm about to start editing this past week's entry, and I have not filmed the past few days. I keep making, I don't want to say excuses, but I just need to make sure I prioritize it. But just quick recaps from the past few days. I don't really remember them. Thursday, what did I do Thursday? Something happened on Thursday. Or Friday. Just been working on applications, still. Doing a lot of photo book research. That's been really fun. I repotted my plants, which has been, like, I bought the equipment for all of that in November, and I just did it. I think actually a little before November. And yeah, a bunch of applications for photo schools, for grants, got a couple due by the end of this month. I think about three or four, so I'm wrapping those up. And been doing my curriculum, so I've been reading a lot of books, diving into books, which has been so cool. And I got to go to the Brooklyn Museum and see the exhibition there for one of the West African photographers. I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm not going to say it, but I started with an S and his last name started with a K. And I think it's Seydou Keita. Sorry if I mispronounced. But it was so cool because I was reading about his work and other photographers' work in the book that I'm currently reading, one of the books, and taking notes on it. And so I was just analyzing the photos, like looking at the prints and the posings and the lighting, and like just trying to be informed and influenced so that when I work on the project I want to work on, it's kind of like influenced by that. What else? A lot of great conversations, a lot of really good food this past weekend. Went to book club yesterday. We're reading The Ornaments of the World, and it was just such a great conversation. I met them all through Zoran's canvassing, so shout out Zoran for helping me build community here in Harlem, which I've been sorely lacking. A lot of my friends are in Brooklyn or have moved to Brooklyn, so it was nice to have some Harlem people and be able to stay out late at night and still be in the neighborhood. And yeah, the marathon's in 2 weeks. Don't know how I feel. We'll see how that all goes. But yeah, that's really been it. Just it's the same thing of just applying, moving slow, trying to get my bearings on things. I feel like I have a revelation every other day, and then like something else happens and I get super distracted, or you know, there's just so many aspects of life. So I'm just trying to figure out how to like focus and stay focused. I'm still struggling to do my 5 a.m. wake up discipline. It's just I just keep going to bed late. Yesterday that was the attempt. I thought I'd be back by 10, but we didn't finish till like midnight. So I didn't wake up today till like 9 or 10. But we'll try again tomorrow. We can just keep trying. But yeah, that's really been it. Hopefully I'll be better about doing this next week. And I find out about one of the grants tomorrow, and probably by the next time I talk to you, I'll have more applications done. And this is kind of a focused week, so we'll see how everything goes. But there's marathon weekend coming up, and then I'm gonna be home for a little bit immediately after, so another period of like, it's nice to have these, I guess, trips built in so frequently, because it forces me to really be like, all right, we have deadlines. Let's try to get the bulk of stuff done in what makes sense at this time. So anyway, I'll check in with you next week.